All right. The dictator of the world's largest communist country, China, and the leader of the Chinese Communist Party that routinely disappears anyone who disagrees with anything he says or the party orders, showed up in San Francisco yesterday. You probably knew that. And the streets were lined with Chinese flags all along the route of the motorcade. In fact, it was embarrassing to look at. American flags were almost non-existent, hard to be found. Looked a lot more like Nanking than the city by the bay. And you have to wonder, just how far under Xi Jinping's heel is Joe Biden anyway these days? I mean, we all know by now that millions of dollars flowed out of the communist nation and into the bank accounts of the Biden family members and their associates. We know that it went on for years. It's clear now. And while I was telling you China is by far the biggest threat to the West and the Chi-Coms are coming to tear down Western civilization, well, Joe Biden was counting his money and playing footsies with the very people that are now spending billions to manipulate what you think as Americans and others around the world think. The CCP led by Xi uses new tools like AI to produce propaganda constantly to influence elections and attitudes and promote socialism as a good thing when it's just one small leap away from the tyranny and destruction and death of communism. But that is the master plan of Xi and the Chi-Coms: topple America, no matter what it takes, no matter what the cost. Cast the U.S. Constitution as a relic of days gone by to stamp out individual freedom in the name of justice and, of course, in the name of the party. Always the party. And why on earth would I think that the American president is either in on it or oblivious to all of it? Or maybe some sad combination of the two? Well, let's figure that out together. In 2019, on the campaign trail, for example, Joe Biden did not think China was much of a problem or a threat at all. Here's what he said.
Look at who we are. I've met virtually every major world leader in my role as vice president and as foreign relations chairman over the last 30 years. And that's not hyperbole. Virtually every one. I don't know a single solitary one who would not change places with the problems the president of the United States has versus the problems they have. China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the west. They can't figure out how they're going to deal with the corruption that exists within the system. I mean, they're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not competition for us.
They're not bad folks. Folks are not even competition. They're fine. Yeah, Joey, take your medicine. It isn't looking like it's shocking, is it? His old boss, President Obama, used to talk about the rise of China and how the United States must help facilitate it all the time. As it turns out, so did Joe Biden. Here's more.
China is not our enemy.
I believe then, and I'm even more convinced now, that a rising China is an incredibly positive development for not only China, but the United States and the rest of the world. It is in our self-interest that China continue to prosper.
China is a great nation, and we should hope for the continued expansion.
We want to see China rise. A rising China can be a significant asset for the region and the world.
Oh, yeah, common theme you see there. Of course, money was flowing into the Biden bank accounts. You know, I am embarrassed for Joe Biden, but more so, I'm embarrassed for you and me. This is our country. This is not a country of parties, but one of respect for the individual, to seek our own path, work as we see fit, earn a living, raise a family, pray and worship however you want or I want, or not at all. America is freedom. America is liberty. China is the antithesis of freedom and liberty. China crushes the individual, destroys the idea of any private property at all. Remember what the World Economic Forum said: you will own nothing and you will be happy. All part of Agenda 2030. And who funds the WEF? Well, the CCP, of course.